All right, welcome to Pass the Mic for Friday, July 29th, episode 35. Mike Pihody here, again via Zoom. Joining me, Michael Gervasi.
Somebody told me that you own me, but can't nobody hold me. I do my dirt all by my lonely. Naughty by nature.
Oh, all right. Well,
Jersey's own. You know them. I'm sure you know.
Hip Hop Hooray.
Yeah.
OPP.
OPP.
Nice hoodie there. A little Wayne State action.
Yeah, I'm not even a graduate, but it's an honor of what we're doing today. I like this sweatshirt I bought. There's a Rallies in not Rallies, the Cha-Ching restaurants. You know the Cha-Ching. Remember that one?
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
This is Rallies, a sports store. We got one in Woodhaven now.
Up by Target.
Yeah.
Are you? So you're not a Walgreen warrior.
No. I mean, no. I'm a fan of colleges, so there's very few colleges I won't wear, but there are a few. But in general,
I am a proud alum with my library and information science master degree from Wayne State. So
maybe I'll let you borrow this one day.
Maybe. Feedback. We got some. First of all, I have some major feedback to take care of that I missed. It's 2 episodes old, and I made the mistake in 2 episodes. Our residential movie expert, the Ren Dog, Rennie Perez, after our overrated, underrated actors from a couple weeks ago, I mentioned my actor. He was not in La La Land. He was not. He was in La La Land. Did not win the Best Supporting Actor for La La Land. It was the movie. I look at my notes here. Excuse me, Whiplash from 2014. So that was. Back when I did my overrated actor, I apologize, Rennie. I'm setting the record straight. You are our a movie expert, Dr. Skoda, of course, from and we mentioned all of his roles of the Spider-Mans, but he was not best supporting actor for La La Land. It was Whiplash.
That dog keeps you on your toes.
He is a movie expert. He knows his stuff. Whenever someone passes, he fires away on Twitter. Paul Sorvino passed. We're recording this on Tuesday. Passed yesterday, and I was going to. We always try to tweet at each other when he beat me to it. Like I was tweeting out the rest in peace to Paul Sorvino, and another Law and Order veteran actor. But he has passed. A lot of mobsters have gone in the last month. Mobster actors.
Yeah, right.
So.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I need to do that because that was 2 weeks old. A lot of people gave feedback on doing things alone. Didn't you get a lot of feedback on that?
Yes, quite a bit. Yeah. Text message, quite a bit came that way. I want to go back a couple episodes. Our graphic artist, Mrs. Torres, Aaron Torres,
yes,
said that The Wonder Years is available on Hulu. So,
streaming. There you go.
Yeah, streaming. Yes.
Okay.
Apparently, me using an expletive got some people going. They were kind of happy about that. I'm like,
happy about it. Oh, maybe I should put the PG-13 rating on the Apple
I don't
site.
think so. You need more than that. But yeah, they were excited to hear that. I got a text about that on a thread. Everybody's kind of laughing. So Tuan, I see you, buddy.
A lot of people reached out to me, and we heard that even we put some limitations on our doing things alone, but other people had said, hey, I'd even go to a ball game alone. And I thought about that too. Like if I was in a city and I was on business, or a few years ago, I went and visited my sister in Phoenix and the Pirates were in town. And I regret the only reason I didn't go see them play the Diamondbacks. I wasn't staying downtown and I had a rental car, but like if I was in downtown and I could walk to the game, I probably would have done it. But driving in from like the suburbs of Phoenix to have to park. And I even asked at the desk at the hotel where I was staying, how much was this was pre-Uber, and a cab was like $50 one way. It just seemed to be too much just to go to a game. It wasn't me being alone that held me back. So I guess even things like that, going to a game, depending on the circumstances, I would probably do a lot of that stuff alone. And I was talking to my co-coach, Miss Crampton, at cross country, and she sort of agrees that, I think it's an age thing. As you get older, you realize that doing this stuff alone. She tells me how her dad goes and plays golf all the time alone and loves it and looks forward to it. So I think even more things than we think of people wouldn't mind doing.
Yeah. Max brought something up too. His brother moved to Germany alone and he had to immerse himself. And this is kind of going to be a little teaser for our college advice. But he had to immerse himself in that life or he was just going to stay in his room all the time.
Yeah. There's certain times where you have to get out there and, It is my week for Mike of the Week. So I was looking around, and we've had a couple baseball players recently, and I was just thinking, I don't know, I just want to do something different. And so I went with a fictitious Mike this week. Do you remember Michael Knight?
Knight Rider?
There you go. Michael Knight. Yes,
okay.
Michael Knight. It was actually, I started doing some research on this. And the show ran 82 to 86. And I think they did like a reboot.
Yeah. Was it him and the David Hasselhoff?
I don't even, well, it doesn't matter who it was because Michael Knight's the person.
Well, yeah, I'm just curious. So
and actually in the pilot, it was not David Hasselhoff. It was a guy named Larry Anderson, an actor. He's in the pilot of Knight Rider. And the character's name was actually Michael Long. And I think they realized either, I don't know, I didn't really want to get into the history of Knight Rider, but episode 2 and beyond from 82 to 86 was David Hasselhoff, probably best known for his Baywatch days, but his first big thing was he's speaking of Germany, right? Isn't he big in Germany?
Right, good point.
Yes, good, nice segue.
Just works out perfectly.
So my Mike of the Week, Michael Knight. He was this is an old show. Remember, the car was like well above its prior to its years. Like this smart car, like Tesla. The car would talk and it would move to where you needed it to. So who would have thought all this stuff is real? So Michael Knight is our Michael of the Week. Another fictitious Mike is going to go up on the wall when we get back, and we got to put all these Michaels.
Oh yeah, it's going to be quite the process.
Yeah, we have a backlog of stuff. So when we get back into the studio, you sort of hinted to it in your introduction. This week's episode, earlier this year, and on one of our previous episodes, we did an episode that was tips for the class of 22, which was just a sort of like a broad idea of things for seniors, and we talked about all the different options they have, and because not every kid is going away to a 4-year school, and that's perfectly fine, and everyone has different options. I figured, and ironically, my daughter's housing arrangements got revealed yesterday from Ann Arbor, so she was all excited. We signed the contract and that sort of thing, and we already knew what we were going to do as a topic. And I think this week we wanted to talk about our tips for the class of 22 for those that are going off to school and literally moving from home and going and living on campus. It's a little separate from like commuting or anything like that, because it is different. And we both have experienced that. We know a lot of our coworkers have. We've lived at we both lived in Ypsilanti and had different arrangements. So it is a difference, right? I mean, when you agree, and we both lived at home a little bit too, right? So we both have seen
I lived at home.
of it.
I lived at home a lot more than I did on campus, but I did live or slightly off campus, but I did live there.
Yeah.
So
I was about an even 50-50 split, and it's different. It's very different. And I think that, so we want to aim this more at the student that is going to East Lansing and Michigan State, going to U of M, going to out of state even, and moving out of their parents' home, probably for the first, being on their own, quote unquote, for the first time. So we both have that experience, and we want to give some, tips on that. So what do you have for that student that's probably about a month away or less than a month? Because a lot of them move, and some I know some athletes have already moved, talking to Chloe. So what do you got?
So I was kind of torn on this one because I found this worked for me. And I know you mentioned, this is advice for people living on campus. This goes for both, but it directly applies to I think the freshmen. What makes it difficult is a lot of times freshmen aren't really certain, nor do they have to be at 18, of what they want to do. But the people that do, I don't know, in my case, I wasn't specifically sure I wanted to teach. I thought I did. I started elementary, then I changed to secondary, which caused me to have to go a little bit longer. But I found that the sooner you find people or a person or whomever that's going in the same direction as you in terms of your major, minor, your common interests, it's best with people. The more you immerse yourself with these folks, I think the more enjoyable your college experience is going to be. The easier it'll be. These are people they're going to do the exact same thing with their life that you are. And again, it's really difficult as a freshman, but the sooner you do that, to me, the better. So my advice is find people that have the same interests or same career goals, if you will, if it's possible, and hook up with those people as soon as you can.
Mine's going to branch off on that a little bit, and maybe even a little different, but again, just take the opportunity to go. And again, it all depends on personality. Obviously, I think most people that are moving away, that are willing to take that step, already have this sort of personality trait of being an outgoing person.
Sure.
I mean, if you're more reserved and a little more leery, you might commute, you may stay at home, that might not be for you, but you are going to have the opportunity you have, especially going to some of these bigger schools around here. Your knowledge, your experience base of the people you're going to interact with is going to be way more. And I thought I was pretty well rounded. You went to Taylor High School, I went to Carlson, and it still was, back then it was a little more different than it is now, but it's still just a suburban Detroit school. The population was pretty much the same. Yeah. When I got to Ypsilanti, the variety of people I met from all over Michigan and the world and the country, really, it was an eye opener. And that's something you have these 4 years, take advantage of that. You're dropped into this pot of this huge variety of people that you can learn a lot about, learn about their experiences, and take advantage of that. Too often in this political climate, if someone doesn't have our political views, we immediately want to shut them down and not interact with them or talk with them. And granted, if the person's obnoxious or rude about it, either way, then fine, get away from that. But it's okay to sit and listen, to talk to somebody that has had a different background or view. And, they may, my best friend growing up from kindergarten's a conservative, and I have no issues with that. And he has no issues with me, and that sort of thing. I guess I give away where I stand on things. But the point is that we can talk and hang out and go out and do stuff. And that's part of going to college is, interacting with different people. Take advantage of the rec that's up there. You're paying for, it's part of your tuition bill. So, you're not paying for a gym when when you get out of work and when you get out of college, you have to pay gym membership. Yeah, right. So the rec is there. So stay active. What I have on here, I have my notes. Use office hours with the professors and the instructors. Don't be afraid to interact with, I always tell our students, you're paying a bill for you. All these services are there, but they're not sort of thrown on you. You know what I mean? It's sort of, you have to go seek this stuff out. Right. That's the difference the big difference between college and high school. High school, the counselors will come and find you and go over this and this and that. The teachers will. The university, a lot of those services are still there, but you need to take the initiative to go take advantage of these. Right. They're there. They're paid for. Go do it. If you just sit back and struggle, you're going to struggle. But take advantage of those things.
Yeah, and it's funny. So I mean, you are totally branching up. Mine's more of a micro. Immerse yourself personally with people. Yours is macro level, like immerse yourself on the college. Like, I think it's much better. Hadi, former guest, has we've talked, and he wasn't as big fan of college life, and he told me a lot of college students feel that way, and I couldn't imagine it. And he's commuting, but again, I enjoyed my time as a commuter as well. I just think you have to, these are young people just like you. And you may have differences. And like you're saying, there's a lot of diversity depending on the campus you go to. But the fact of the matter is, you are with a bunch of young people, same type of idea, same, you're going in a direction that hopefully takes you to your career and what you do for the majority of the rest of your life. So yeah, why not take advantage of all those things? It's a truly could be a wonderful experience if you allow it to be. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you have the opportunities, if the opportunities are there that to go to college games and to travel, do a study abroad, or this is this window of your life where you don't have a ton of other commitments compared to like us now, where we can't we can't go up and go to every U of M home game in the fall. We can't. It's just logistically impossible. But you're living a block from there. Yeah, with tickets cheaper than you'll ever get them, even if it's pouring rain or whatever, these are things you're going to remember for life that are there. Even if your team's awful that year, whatever, man, this is a window of life where your responsibilities are lower. You're supposed to learn and experience. Again, it's not just sporting events, but going and hanging out with friends and doing these things. That's just one thing I can stress, because once you hit the real world, once you hit, working and paying bills, you can take some time off and go do this or that. But those things are like rare treats, right? Whereas those 4 years of school, it becomes like a weekly habit, right? Like, oh, the team's home this week. Let's all go hang out. You know what I mean? Like that era of your life's over, unless you're, I guess, a wealthy NBA owner or something where you can live life like a college student. But and again, rest. don't, the opposite of all this is don't be afraid to take some time and recharge and that sort of thing. But,
Sure.
and, you know, if you're living on campus and your family's paying for that, or you're paying for that, or you got scholarships, whatever, don't come home every weekend. Like that's not, I mean, you might as well have commuted at that point. And
Learn
even
to
if
wash
it's
your own clothes.
yeah, even if it's a
Yeah.
slow, dead weekend, I mean, it's fine to come home here or there, but I mean, enjoy that time. You know, your family's not going anywhere.
Right.
And Downriver's not going anywhere either. So, so
Yeah.
So good, you know, there's our tips. Enjoy, like I said, most of all, enjoy it. Enjoy those years because they're going to go fast, and then you're going to be working and paying bills. So, overrated, underrated. We're going to tie that right into what we're talking about. So, you know, everything isn't per. You know, you even said you enjoyed your time commuting or whatever. So we're going to talk about overrated, underrated, the fact of living on campus. And when I say living on campus, I mean whether it be a dorm or an apartment nearby, like you were doing. So overrated, underrated aspects of living on a college campus so that we, you know, give fair balance to our whole topic today. What is your overrated?
So anytime I bring or a student visits, you know, we get a lot of students that come back and visit, you know, recent graduates who are in college, and I'll let them talk to the class, you know, briefly, especially if it's unplanned. And one of the things, not one of the, every single time, the first or second question is, do you get to party a lot? Do you get to party a lot? So, you know, and I'm not saying, I get it. You're young. These are young people. I'm not get off my lawn guy on this. Young people are going to do what young people do. This is the first time they're getting this taste of freedom. But you also have the rest of your life to party too. So I'm not saying, you know, again, I'm not being get off my lawn guy, but that aspect of college to me is just very overrated. The fact that again, inevitably the first or second question that a student asks, how much do you get to party? You know, you can get yourself in trouble doing that, and you're back home and you're not doing any partying at that point, you know. Yep. So I mean, you're gonna be in debt and stuff like that. So I think the partying aspect, again, I'm not saying not to do it. I'm not saying, you know, that kids don't do it. Obviously they do, but I think it's a much overrated, over-focused aspect of college. So that's my overrated.
And again, we did not talk about anything before this episode, and I am right with you. Not only the aspect of it, the parties themselves, looking back at it now as an adult, are pretty overrated themselves. Think about some of the places you went into and partied. I wouldn't step foot into a facility, a situation like, think about it. Just like think of the bathrooms you may have used, or I think of think of the beverages you had to use because your dirt broke.
Yes.
You're under you if you're breaking the law and you're under 21, you would get whatever you get your hands on.
Not that we're suggesting that.
Not that we're endorsing that at all.
Right.
I'm just saying they're really, if you rank the parties of your life, right? Like if you think of the parties you've gone to in your life, do you ever sit back and think back to like college parties of being these great, awesome parties that you had a blast at?
No, but you know what? That might be the nostalgia for it. You know, I think there's one place in particular on Eastern's campus that was about as big as my living room here that they packed 600 people in.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I see Ella in the background there. Yeah, but maybe that's the nostalgia, like that you did that. But yeah, it was kind of nasty and sweaty.
Yeah, you know, not again, we do sound like get off our lawn guy because everyone's going to do it. And I'm sure like if we were 19 or 20 or 21 right now and going, we'd be having a blast. But looking back at it now, they are overrated. When you think about the grand scheme of parties, you're packed into usually small rooms. You're in, you know, because really you don't. I mean, we're not going to get to the legality of things. You really don't turn 21 till your junior year. I mean, am I right? Like, if we're following the laws of the state of Michigan and the United States of America, you're packed into situations. Again, a tailgate for football. Eastern wasn't a big football school. Now, that's one thing that we may be neglecting. Like if we were at a Big Ten school on a Saturday, I've been to Michigan State's campus on a Saturday. You've been to U of M's campus on a Saturday. Those look pretty fun. Right. Like we sort of, that is one thing we'll acknowledge our ignorance on that topic. I'm sure those parties are not overrated, but I'm just thinking of the standard thinking, like every weekend is this great time. I mean, I remember many a times walking around Ypsilanti in the winter, it's freezing, it's raining or whatever. It's not this glamorous.
No.
Yeah, we do sound like get off your yard.
We do.
But it's overrated. I'm not saying it's awful. Like I'm just saying it's an overrated aspect of college. People think it's like you're going to walk in and there's be this platter of delicious food, a variety of beverages chilled at a perfect temperature, and this clean bathroom. that's
clean party, you
yeah.
know, yeah.
Nobody
nothing.
obnoxious or annoying.
Right.
Yeah. That's not how it's going to work. So
Right.
that's my overrated as well. I'm right with you. What is your underrated of campus life?
So for me, my most enjoyable classes were the ones usually in the summer, to be honest with you, and because the classes are smaller. So it's what this is one thing, and I tell people this all the time. Take the smaller the classes, especially as you get closer and closer to getting into your upper level major classes, are the best time. You have the best conversations. Professors become much different when you're in a class of 400 in some lecture hall. You don't get to know the professor unless you go to the office hours. Even then, they don't know you after that. You know, you're a number. But those smaller classes are awesome. I really cannot stress that enough. You know, that's kind of where I found myself, so to speak, in college life. Found out really what I wanted to do. That's when I changed my major. I kind of excelled in certain classes, and I don't think I would have gotten that in these large lecture areas, you know, where you just, like I said, you're just a number. So to me, the underrated aspect of college are the smaller classes where you really get to know people personally, you get to know the professors. That to me, I wish I could go back and do that right now.
My underrated, and again, this is specifically for living on or near campus, is the amount of time that you have compared to even when you're commuting or if you're just going, because now all of us, that was the biggest eye opener to me when I moved, you know, and lived on campus. I had my first semester, I had either 15 or 16 credit hours, which is still a full-time slate. And I couldn't get over how much downtime I had. I wasn't working. I had worked all summer and saved up money so I wouldn't have to work in Ypsilanti while I was there. And that is a huge bonus to living on campus, is that even with a full-time schedule, you have a ton of time to do a lot of things. You know, obviously do your class work and your school work, but socialize. We joked around a little bit about parties, but even like little things like, you know, going into, if it's a nice day or whatever campus you're on, and going and sitting and, you know, sitting, having a coffee somewhere and just taking it easy, taking part of the, you know, intramural or the sporting events that go on. I was shocked at how much time I had. Like, honestly, I don't know about you. I don't know if you know, I don't know how many hours you took or when you lived. If you're not working, you have a ton of time, and there's still even enough time, I think, to even get like, you know, 20 hours, even if you work like, you know, 14, 20 hours, you'd still have a ton of time. If so, in a way, that's a good thing, you know, but you have, again, we've talked about this for all year with, you know, advice to anybody is time management. You can find yourself wasting that time or using it poorly. But when you live on campus, that is one benefit that, you know, people can say whatever they want about commuting and saving money or this or that. The time you have on living on campus to focus on your studies and take stuff in is unmatched. It's unmatched. You're not driving anywhere. You're not, you know, you're not distracted at home. You don't have to do stuff at home. And if you live like most, you know, if you live on campus, your food is taken care of. You know, there's a dining hall. You don't even have to cook. Some of these halls have community bathrooms, so you don't have to clean your bath. You know, it's amazing how much time you have. Which I'm also shocked now. These dorms have air conditioning, but I guess times haven't changed. So that's my underrated. We'd love to hear what some other people that moved away felt, especially those people that moved like far away. I always give people credit that leave the state. You want to talk about, you know, really putting your neck out there. You know, you talked about Max's brother. You're totally going. If you're going totally on your own, we've had people from Carlson that do that. We have people this year, you know, going to Pitt and other schools and down in Florida. It's pretty cool. And that's almost like a whole nother step when you think about it. So, all right, you got a hot mic for this week?
Yeah. So, and this, I was going to get off my lawn guy again about today's rap music. But I'm going to save that for another time because something came up yesterday when I was driving. Are you familiar with the song? See, I have to look it up again. Are you familiar with the song Room to Move by Animotion? It's a 1980s song.
No, but didn't they do Obsession? Is that another one of their songs?
Oh, it does sound like them. Yeah. Okay.
You're my obsession.
Yeah.
Is that them?
Well, I'm going to look it up. And
well, I don't want to interrupt you. I don't want to hide.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I'm curious now as well. So I came across this song
on TikTok because that's where all old songs come back, is on TikTok.
No, this is on 80s on 8 on Sirius. Okay. Room to Move. That's all. Okay, so I'm not going to sing. June 13th, 1989. I was a fifth grader, just finishing up fifth grade. In fact, I think we had finished up the day before.
Getting ready to move on to West.
No, you don't move to West till 6th grade at that time.
Oh, okay.
I had one more year at Kenyon.
Okay.
Yeah, by the way, you said Taylor High School. It was Kennedy earlier in the show.
I'm sorry. Well, corrections. Right.
Don't want to offend the Kennedy folks out there because JFK. Okay, so anyway, where was I? Okay, so Animotion. The song came on yesterday, and it was June 13th, 1989. Celebrating the Pistons championship because that was their first championship. 5th grader. Turn on the radio. That song is on. Okay. Now, I would not hear that. I was kind of playing it out in my mind as I was driving. How many times have I heard that song since that night? I would estimate 3 or 4 at the most. And yet I know that song so well. I put myself back in that frame of mind. So I want to know from our listener or viewers, in this case, we're on YouTube as well. Is there any obscure, and I don't know, I mean, I think that song's kind of obscure, right? You don't.
It's definitely, I remember, I think I know what song you're talking about. And I think we're right about the band.
Yes.
With their other song.
I looked it up. You were right. Okay. But I mean, you're a DJ.
That's their that was their bigger song, Obsession. That song was that's always.
And I didn't even know that but you're right. And you're a DJ. I mean, you're the Dumb Owl DJ company. You and Patrick Rose. So, and the fact that you didn't know it. So I want to know, is there any obscure, it doesn't have to be a song. I think I go to music far too often here, but is there any song, movie, or something that's like obscure that you just know so well because it puts you back in a time? Like I said, I'm at home, my mom, we're all celebrating the Pistons champ. My brother was actually at Palace Vision, so he couldn't celebrate with us at Palace, but turn on the radio to just kind of party it out a little bit. That song is on, and I will never forget it, even though it's an obscure Animotion.
Animotion. Yeah. They're like a syntho pop sort of thing.
Just like I said. I mean, is there a Howard the Duck? I remember that movie. It was the worst movie of all time. But I remember that movie so well. Is there anything that the viewer has that kind of reminds them of a time or something like that?
Yeah, I'm sure there's some out there. I think we did an earlier episode where we talked about music, and I said that on my honeymoon I listened to it was like there's only 12 songs on the cycle. Yeah. And the Third Eye Blind, How's It Gonna Be, which is sort of like the anti-honeymoon song. But you can only hear these 12 songs on this flight would just cycle through on the pop station. So now I always associate that with my honeymoon, even though it's this breakup song. But and not that obscure.
That's the key. Yes, and that's what I was going to say. That's the key, because it has to be something more obscure. Because Third Eye Blind was pretty big,
Yeah, but that's what I always associated with that flight. Like whenever I hear that song, I think of that flight, because I found it ironic when I was traveling that was there. All right, my hot mic is, and again, this is, so I want to clarify, because I want to talk about gas prices a little bit, but I'm not doing the typical gas prices. Why are gas prices so high? You and I both understand how gas prices work, and we're not here to. I just want to point out that through all the previous ups and downs of gas prices, and I think you will agree with this, don't you remember, like most of the time, like most stations around would be like within the same 2 or 3 cents. Yes. And there'd always be one that was always way higher. Nobody went to that one.
Right.
Thornton West. Okay. Why anyone gets gas there? Maybe it's the taco truck. I don't know. But
that's recent. But yes, I think you're right. That's a great.
But that one is always. But it always used to be. Gas here was $2.39. Gas here is $2.38, $2.37, $2.39, $2.41. More so than ever in 2022. I'm just baffled in the fact of how there can be such a wide, maybe, and that's what I want someone to explain to me. I understand how gas prices work and how supply and demand works, and how, at one point no one was driving anywhere, so gas was negative, and then now everyone's back and booming and driving everywhere, so gas gets more expensive. But what I want to know is what changed over the last year or two that the Kroger on West could be 20 cents less than the Kroger on Gibraltar Road. And all over you see that. The only time you see stuff close is when there's stations that are right on top of each other, right?
Right.
You'll see, like there's not going to be somebody that's 20 cents cheaper right next door. But a mile up the road, there's very different prices. And I know, like, I see people post stuff on good old Downriver and Friends. Places up in Taylor are much cheaper, getting below $4, like up on
Mike
Telegraph.
I've had to spend time in Dearborn this summer. And it's as much as we were like $4.49, $4.50. It was $3.95 like 2 weeks ago. So it's incredible. Like that's a 50-cent gap.
Can anyone explain that to me? Because it's not. Yeah. It's also, we're not talking about different different stations. Like I'm talking, like the Kroger one in here. Like if you ever noticed Gibraltar Road and West Road, and I don't like going to the West Road Kroger. I don't ever get up to tell it. I'm not in that corner.
Right.
But if I'm up there, I'll get gas there because it's substantially cheaper than the one down here. For years, like Rockwood, these stations used to be more expensive than Rhodey. Well, now they're pretty much, lower. I just can't figure it out. And,
Right.
obviously Ohio's cheaper because they have a different tax structure and everything. And again, I don't mean to get off my lawn guy. I'm not one of these people too that drive around a lot looking for, I get to empty, but at the same point, I'm just curious as to how there could be such differences so close by. I get it that gas is more up in Novi and this or that. Just odd to me,
Great question. Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe we'll put it out on. Maybe someone's a gas and oil expert.
Got a lot of economics experts out there right
now. there are. I wish I would have listened to them. I wouldn't be having such a hard time paying for these college classes, I guess. So, do you have anything that you want to send us off with? Big news yet? Are you going to bring up the big news that broke last night?
I have to. So, okay, so the Pistons are going back to the teal for 10 games next year. And what's interesting about this amongst Pistons diehards like myself, this represents an era. This is what I refer to it. Our old friend Joe Radford posted on Facebook today. He's not a fan. This
of
was
the show or of the jersey?
Of the jersey. Sorry, of the jersey. I don't know if he knows about the show yet. I'll have to tell him. But it came right between the Bad Boys and the Going to Work eras. Right between the Grant Hill.
The Grant Hill.
Right. And in all honesty, if you compare that era to the one that we've been in the last 14 seasons, that one's actually like a glory years in comparison. I'm not, again, Bad Boys and Going to Work are the glory years, but just in comparison, this last 14 years has been horrendous. They haven't won a playoff game since 2008. But so Piston fans tend to remember the teal era in a negative manner, even though they were much better than the recent one. So when this came out, I was kind of curious, and I was looking at social media. Most Piston fans, myself included, are cool with it. Radford is not. Joe Radford is not. But I think it's kind of neat. They showed Jaden Ivey in his uniform, exciting young rookie. I think it's pretty cool. I'm not get off my lawn guy on this one, even though if you'd have told me this 10 years ago, I probably would have been. So for whatever reason, I'm good with this. I think it's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to the
team. I think it's probably, if I look right now, it's like a 70-30 split online. I think most people are pretty excited about it, wanting it to come back. I don't, I like it, but I'm not like, it's not like, it's amazing the battles that go over this. Like I was just, before we started the show, I was on Twitter, and a lot of NFL teams are doing like an alternate helmet this year, right? Like the Bengals white helmet. Did you see that?
Yes.
Pretty interesting. And, Steelers, they call it Steelers Twitter. This can be such a negative, angry place. These people, like, you would have thought the world was ending when the Heinz ketchup bottles were coming down, and the Steelers aren't doing anything different with their helmet. So they're just stuck. And, the tweet from the guy was, all these other teams with their helmets, and the guy's like, Pittsburgh Steelers, you'll get nothing and like it. And I just think sometimes, like, some of these arguments that, people sometimes just argue to argue, it's like my son was telling me about Madden ratings the other day, and going on and on about how Myles Garrett's a 99, but TJ Watt's only a 94. And I'm like, I don't care. I think TJ Watt would rather win the AFC Championship game than have a 99 rating. I would hope. But, this is what's big in this day and age. Also along the same lines, sending us off this week, the Tigers are probably being buried, right? Are they, people are losing their minds.
Yesterday. But they
maybe hit a home run.
Yeah.
Maybe they can get something. Maybe they can get something up for him on the trade market.
Yeah, I'm sure. The Tigers would have to eat about 95% of that salary. Now, I want to come back to the NFL thing for a minute. They were talking on the radio yesterday about the Lions, because the Lions are not one of those teams. And part of some of the people talked about the nostalgia for, keeping what they've had. It's not. This is the most sorry franchise in the NFL. What are we nostalgic for? Like, I like the uniforms, I always have, but what are we nostalgic for? We have one playoff game in our lifetime.
I have a bad feeling the Lions talk currently is much like the Tiger talk was early before spring training, about how this is going to be turning a corner, and all these people know, Vegas is hot on the Lions. Someone said there's a ranking of teams to watch. Like, it's not a current top 10, but top 10 of teams a few years down the road. And the Lions we played this game before, and I don't know how the Lions always get this publicity of, oh, this is it. This is going to be the year everything changes. Again, everyone just take it easy a little bit. The NFL always has that because, like last year you had the Bengals, right?
Right.
Out of nowhere. The NFL, you can do that much easier than you can with really any of the other sports. But folks, just pump the brakes.
It never happens here though. I'm optimistic, but cautiously optimistic. I do like Dan Campbell, but this is a franchise that has just broken my heart way too many times.
All right. Well, this is our last episode in July. We start the August episode soon, which means we're back to work. So get that back to school shopping done, everybody. You have some painting to do today. I'm off to my conference. So we will see everybody next week.